So what is estate tax? Estate tax is a tax on the privilege of the decedent to transmit his estate upon death to his lawful heirs or beneficiaries. So let me be clear about the definition of estate tax, brothers and sisters. The one that is being taxed is not the estate per se, but the privilege or the right of the decedent to transmit his property to his lawful heirs, which we call compulsory heirs, or beneficiaries, which may include voluntary heirs. Remember the devices and legatees. Okay, so estate tax return is the BIR form 1801. That is the one that is being filed for every estate of a resident. And it is the form used when paying the estate tax, of course, for the purpose of acquiring what we call an electronic certificate authorizing registration, or ECAR. The ECAR is a proof that appropriate taxes were paid. It's the BIR which issues the ECAR. So estate tax is one of the one-time transactions under BIR rules. So when we say on it, I'm referring to one-time transactions. Beginning January 1, 2018, the rate of estate tax is 6%, and the basis is the net estate of every resident, whether resident or non-resident of the Philippines, shall be subject to an estate tax at the rate of 6%. So prior to January 1, 2018, or before the effectivity of the train law, so our tax code, the National Internal Revenue Code of 1997, or the Tax Reform Act of 1998, which became effective beginning January 1, 1998 to December 31, 2017, the applicable rate of tax shall be computed using the graduated tax rates. So what is the governing law on imposition of tax? Under Revenue Regulations 12/2018, the statute in force at the time of death of the decedent governs the imposition of tax, which means the law in force at the time of death is the one that will prevail in the imposition of the tax. So which means if a decedent died prior to let's say year 2000, the one that will govern are the rules under Republic Act 8424 or the National Internal Revenue Code of 1997. Now, if the decedent died beginning, let's say, January 1, 2018 and onwards, then the one that will apply is the Train Law or the Republic Act 10963. So the estate tax accrues as of the death of the decedent, and the accrual of the tax is distinct from the obligation to pay the same. What does this mean? Okay? Mga kapatid, even if the tax accrues as of the death of the decedent, which means if a decedent died, okay, the estate tax accrues if there is a tax to be paid on the estate. But it doesn't mean the estate is required to pay the tax simultaneously upon death of the decedent or on or the time of death of the decedent, which means the estate under our rule has 1 year within which to settle any tax obligation. Okay, so the accrual of the tax is different from the obligation to pay the same. So upon death of the decedent, there is an estate tax accrued, but the obligation to pay the same, the estate has 1 year to pay the corresponding estate tax. Upon the death of the decedent, succession takes place, and the right of the state to tax the privilege to transmit the estate vests instantly upon death. We know very well, brothers and sisters, during our discussion of succession, that the property is transmitted upon the death of the decedent to the heirs. So, in consideration of that, since succession takes place and the right of the state to tax the privilege to transmit the estate vests instantly upon death. So, sabay po siya. But again, the obligation to pay is different from the accrual of the estate tax. Okay? So, discussion question. Nicanor died on November 1, 2000. His estate was settled by the family in September 5, 2018. Estate tax was estate tax was paid in 2019 upon filing of estate tax return. Remember our rule, pay as you file. The partition of the properties was made in 2000. When we say partition, it is the point or process wherein the heirs distribute or divide the property according to their agreement or according to the decision of the court. Okay, so the question is, what is the governing law or the one that will govern the imposition of the estate tax? Since Nicanor died in November 1, 2000, then the one that will prevail is the provision or are the provisions set forth under Republic Act 8424 or the National Internal Revenue Code of 1997. Okay? Now let's assume, brothers and sisters, that Nicanor died in January 1, 2018. His estate was settled by the family in September 5, 2019. So when we say settled, this is the point where the family or the heirs has executed deed of extrajudicial settlement of the estate. So the estate tax was paid in 2020, so this year, upon filing of the estate tax return. So the question is, what is the governing law? Remember the rule. The statute in force at the time of death shall prevail. So since the decedent died in January 1, 2018, so the answer will be Republic Act number 10963 or the Tax Reform for Acceleration and Inclusion Act, or what is famously known as the Train Law. So what is the format in computing the estate tax? Remember, brothers and sisters, we have discussed already the classification of properties applying the rule on property relationships. So if the spouse, okay, has agreed a property relationship using conjugal partnership of gains, we have the rule in determining the property, whether it shall be classified as exclusive or conjugal or community. So this is how this is the thing that I am telling you about, the importance of knowing the property relationship and classifying the properties properly. Kasi kung mali ka in classifying the property as to exclusive or conjugal or community, then most likely magkakamali ka in arriving at the gross estate. Okay, so what is the formula in computing estate tax? So we start with the gross estate. So if the decedent has exclusive properties, then we separate the exclusive properties from the community or the conjugal properties. And then we get the total. So this is the total. Then we apply the deductions. So there are changes under the train law pertaining to the deductions, which we will be discussing later. So ibabawas natin yan, deductions, okay? And then we get the net estate before the share of surviving spouse. Remember, the one that is being subjected to estate tax is the estate of the decedent. It does not include or we exclude the properties of the surviving spouse, precisely because the surviving spouse is still alive. So we then deduct the share of surviving spouse. So we get the net estate before special deductions. So this computation may also vary. It doesn't matter so long as you get the correct answer. But this is one thing that you can use in computing the estate, the net taxable estate, and of course the estate tax due. Okay, so after getting the net estate before share of surviving spouse, okay, so dito siya papasok, we deduct the share of surviving spouse, and the share of surviving spouse, remember, is 1/2 or 50% of the community or conjugal property. So this one, i-apply siya doon. Okay, so ayan po siya. And then we deduct the special deductions from the estate, and that includes family home and standard deduction. Remember, brothers and sisters, itong mga merong asterisk na to indicates changes under the train law. So there are changes in deductions in family home and standard deduction. And of course, in determining net taxable estate because again, of the changes under the train law, meron changes. Ayan, yung mga asterisks na yan. Okay? So after deducting the family home, the special deductions, and the standard deduction, we get the net taxable estates. From the net taxable estate, we can compute now the estate tax due. So the rate, as discussed previously, is 6%. It's a fixed percentage. So estate tax due less estate tax credit if there has been previously filed BIR form pertaining to estate tax, and of course we get the estate tax payable or overpayment in case the estate tax credit exceeded the estate tax due. So what is the difference between net taxable estate versus net distributable estate? So just to explain to you the difference, let me give you an example. So let's say under the facts, Nicanor, single and Filipino citizen, died on February 14, 2019. He is survived by his parents. The list of his properties is given below. So ang survivor niya yung kanyang parents. So which means wala siyang descendant. So single siya, wala siyang spouse, and wala siyang illegitimate child. So the following are his properties. The house and lot, which is according to this problem, is also the family home, cash in bank, personal properties. During settlement of estate, the following information was known. So there are expenses that were spent during the time of the funeral. So and the settlement of the estate, judicial expense. There are medical expenses and claims against the estate, losses as a result of the fire. So the question is compute the net taxable estate and the net distributable estate. So we're trying to get the difference between the two. How do we compute the net taxable estate? Okay, how do we compute the net taxable estate? And at the same time, the net distributable estate. Net distributable estate. Remember the one that we have discussed in legitim in computing the share of the heirs, and of course the intestate share in case the legal or intestate succession will apply. Okay, so magkano ba yung paghahati-hatian? That is the net distributable share. Okay, so the net taxable estate naman, this is the basis for the taxation or the computation of the estate tax. Ito yung pinag-usapan natin kanina. So gross estate, less deductions, less share of the surviving spouse, less special deductions, that is the net taxable estate. Ngayon, meron naman tayong tinatawag na net distributable estate. Ito yung basis in the distribution of the estate of the decedent. Okay, ito yung paghahati-hatian ng mga tagapagmana. This is the one that will be applied, let's say, in legitim, application of the legitim. So yung 50% dito, halimbawa, merong legitimate child, that is the basis of the computation. Okay? So let's, the problem is indicated for purposes of easy reference on the left side. Okay? So the solution is on the right side. So how do we compute the net taxable estate? We get the gross estate. So what is the gross estate? Composition of gross estate here. So we have house and lot, we have cash in bank, we have personal property. So total, 15 million. So that is the 15 million. So what are deductions? Claims against the estate. This one, there. We have losses, there. Okay. Under the train law, there are no more funeral expenses and medical expenses. However, okay, as far as the standard deduction is concerned, it was increased to 5 million. Prior to train law, it was 1 million. Okay, the family home is originally, it's 1 million. Now, the maximum amount is 10 million. But since the family home here amounted only to 5 million, then the allowable deduction is the maximum amount, which is 5 million, based from the property. It cannot exceed the value that was included in the gross estate. So meron tayong threshold. Okay? Now, so total deduction is basically 14 million. So ito 14 million po lahat yan, 14 million. So the net estate, taxable estate would be 1 million. So gross estate 15 million less the deductions. So net taxable estate, it's 1 million pesos. Then you multiply 6% and this is now the estate tax due. But the estate tax due is not our problem. Okay, I just showed to you how the estate tax due is being computed. Our problem here is just to determine what is the net taxable estate. Okay, now let's go now to the net distributable estate. So, we start also with the gross estate. Pagkano ba yung total properties of the decedent? And of course, the deduction. Okay? Itong funeral and judicial expenses, notwithstanding this allowance, under the train law, hindi na siya pwedeng ito po. Sabi ko sa inyo, this one has been repealed already under RA 10963 or train law. Tinanggal siya. Bakit tinanggal yan? Kasi dinagdagan na nga po yung standard deduction. Ito yan, from 1 million, okay, to 5 million. So, merong benefit ang estate additional of 4 million. That is the reason why the funeral expenses and judicial expenses are no longer deductible here. Okay, bawal na sila, bawal na sila. Pero even if they are non-deductible for purposes of computing the net taxable estate, pag distributable estate yan, okay, ito yung nagastos. So, kailangan siyang ibawas sa estate. Okay, yan po kasi yung nabawas. Okay, so yan ang kailangan siyang ibawas from the gross estate kasi nagastos siya eh. So, medical expenses, nagastos din siya in the amount of 5 million pesos. So, dapat yan, ibawas din sa gross estate kasi ginamit ang estate in paying for the medical expenses and other funeral and judicial expenses. And of course, the claims against the estate and the losses also. Okay? And then, the 60,000 tax payment here. The estate tax due. Yan ang reason bakit natin pinakita yung computation ng estate tax due. Because the 60,000 estate tax due is galing po yan sa pera ng namatay sa gross estate niya. So lahat ng expenses, okay, ibabawas natin lahat yan dun sa gross estate para makuha natin ang net distributable estate kasi nagastos po lahat yan. So, effectively, the net distributable estate is 4,940,000 after considering all the deductions. So, itong net distributable estate is the basis of the distribution of property. That is why it is called net distributable estate. Ito na talaga yung pinaka-neto na paghahati-hatian ng mga mag-anak. So, example, it's 4,940,000. Okay? So, kung meron siyang anak, okay, legitimate child, 1/2 of that will go to the legitimate child. Okay? Papaano kung ang survivor din ay surviving spouse? Diba? Under rule on legitim, ano siya? Ang tawag dito, 1/4 ito. Right? Tapos free portion, 1/4. Ito yung pinag-aralan natin sa rule on legitim. Paano naman kung walang rule on intestate share ng pag-uusapan? Legitimate child, 1/2. Surviving spouse, 1/2. So, iyan ang mga mag-a-apply in distributing the net distributable estate. Okay, so this is the basis. So, hindi po ito ang basihan ng paghahati-hatian kasi itong net taxable estate na yan is only for purposes of computing the estate tax due. Yung net distributable estate, lahat ng gastos, whether or not deductible, in computing the net taxable estate tulad ng funeral and judicial expenses and of course estate tax due. Okay, ibabawas yan again against the gross estate because the presumption is yung perang ginastos sa mga yan, okay, ay galing sa gross estate ng namatay. Okay? So, I hope I was clear on this one. So, how do we compute the gross estate of married decedents? So, remember the rule on exclusive properties at saka community or conjugal properties of the decedent. So, kung conjugal partnership of gain po ang kanilang property relationship, exclusive properties included siya in computation. Okay? Bakit siya included? Kasi yan ay pag-aari ng decedent. Exclusive properties of surviving spouse. Okay? Excluded, hindi kasama in computing the gross estate. Bakit excluded? Kasi buhay siya eh. So yung property ni surviving spouse should not form part of the gross estate. Kasi hindi yun ang sinasubject natin sa estate tax. And of course, the common properties of the spouses is included in the computation. How about in absolute community of properties? Okay, naturally, yung exclusive properties of the student, yan, decedent, yan ay included. Okay? How about the exclusive properties of the surviving spouse? Excluded, buhay pa eh. And of course, the common properties are also included. So what are the compositions of the gross estate? Okay, for purposes of simplification. Kasi if we are to read the rules pertaining to the composition of gross estate, iba siya. What I mean is that yung gross estate, if we are to read the provisions of the tax code, it refers to number 1, decedent's interest, number 2, life insurance, process of life insurance, number 3, yan yung mga transfer for insufficient consideration. Okay? But for purposes of simplification, the composition of gross estate for residents and citizens. So this include non-resident citizen and non-resident citizens, resident aliens. Okay? All properties wherever situated, which means even if the property is located within the Philippines or outside the Philippines, okay, whether real property, any immovable, personal property, those are considered movable, tangible and intangible, okay, regardless of the place or location of these properties, are part of the gross estate. For non-resident aliens, only properties situated within the Philippines are to be reported under gross estate. Okay, provided that with respect to intangible personal property or IPP, its inclusion in the gross estate is subject to the rule on reciprocity. So we will be discussing a bit about rule on reciprocity para at least you will have an idea on what is this about. Okay, so let me just give you a review of the differences between the different kinds of taxpayers for estate tax purposes and income tax purposes. Okay? Ganito po siya. For income tax purposes, income tax, we have different kinds of taxpayers. We have RC, NRC, RA, NRA, engaged, or not engaged. For purposes of computing the taxes for all of these individual taxpayers, si RC lamang ang income derived from sources within and without ang taxable. All of these taxpayers are subject to income tax on their income derived from sources within. Okay, this one applies under income tax. Pero pag estate tax, ganito po yan. RC, NRC, RA. So, within and without po yan na property. Okay, that is the difference. For NRA, here, ano ang magiging applicable na rule? Only the properties situated within the Philippines, okay, shall be subjected to estate tax. Now, types of properties: real properties, immovable properties. Tangible personal properties, these are movable properties or that which can be transported from one place to another. So itong dalawa na yan are also defined under Article 404 and 405 of the Civil Code of the Philippines. So yung immovable properties, kasama dyan yung land, building, okay? Yung movable naman, characteristic niyan is that the property can be transported from one place to another. Kaya nga, movable. So, in immovable, anything attached to the soil. Okay, part yan. So, that includes land, building, etc. So, of course, we also have intangible personal properties. So, intangible personal properties is a bit different for taxation purposes. Okay, compared to accounting. Kasi in taxation purposes, okay, the composition or classification of IPP or intangible personal properties include franchise, which must be exercised in the Philippines. We're talking about properties in the Philippines. Okay, mga properties po dito in the Philippines lahat yan. Ano yung mga properties or IPP within the Philippines? Franchises, which must be exercised in the Philippines. Pag yan, yung franchise na yan, ay in-exercise dito, or royalty, yan ang mga classification of the royalty for income tax purposes. So trademark, mark, patent, copyright, okay? These are also intangible personal properties. If they are exercised in the Philippines, then they are part of the intangible property within the Philippines. Number 2, shares, obligations, or bonds issued by any corporation or sociedad anonima organized and constituted in the Philippines. So, ibig sabihin, pag yung mga shares, obligations, and bonds na yan, okay, were issued, okay, by a domestic corporation, sabi dyan, organized and constituted in accordance with law. So, basically, these are domestic corporations and okay, yan ay, ayan sabi niya, any corporation. Yan ang IPP na yan, yung mga shares of stock na yan, okay, yung mga bonds na yan, ay within the Philippines. Situated po yan. If, again, issued by a domestic corporation. O ano pa po yung intangible personal properties within the Philippines? So this includes shares. So refers to shares of stocks, obligation or bonds issued by any foreign corporation. Kanina domestic. Ito naman ay foreign corporation. But how can we say that the CITOS is within the Philippines? 85% niyan is located in the Philippines. Okay. What else? Shares, obligations, or bonds issued by any foreign corporation. Ito din. But the shares, obligations, or bonds have acquired business status in the Philippines. So, they are actually operating within. Meron silang CITOS. Remember the rule on CITOS? They are, the location is within the Philippines. Their business is located within. And of course, letter E, shares or rights in any partnership. So, ito yung interest or any investment in a partnership or a business or industry. Pero saan nag-ooperate itong partnership or business or industry? Within the Philippines. So, kung yan lima na yan, ayan, in the Philippines po, CITOS in the Philippines, located in the Philippines, 85% yan. Dito naman yung domestic, established under the laws of the Philippines, yung franchise exercised in the Philippines, ang source or the location of the IPP is within the Philippines. So, which means if within the Philippines yan, yan ay part of the gross estate of the decedent. Okay? So let us now talk about the rule on reciprocity. Mga kapatid, I want you to really understand the application of the rule on reciprocity. Okay? Kasi yung mga textbook, medyo iba ang kanilang interpretation pertaining to rule on reciprocity. For the Philippine authors, okay, sa kanila, if sinasabi ang kanilang interpretation, sasabihin lang nila if there is an intangible personal property and then there is reciprocity, exempted na kaagad sa kanila ang IPP. So which means it shall not form part of the gross estate already. Kasi nga daw merong reciprocity. So parang in effect, if there is reciprocity, the IPP is exempted from estate taxation. So medyo mali yung ganitong interpretation. So I will show you what is the real application and correct interpretation on rule on reciprocity. So in reciprocity, no tax shall be collected in respect of intangible personal property. If the decedent at the time of his death or the donor at the time of donation was a citizen and resident of a foreign country which at the time of his death or donation did not impose a transfer tax. So pag sinabing transfer tax, this includes estate or donor's tax of any character in respect of intangible personal property of citizens of the Philippines not residing in that foreign country. Or if the laws of the foreign country of which the decedent or a donor was a citizen and resident at the time of his death or donation allows a similar exemption from transfer or death taxes of every character or description in respect of intangible personal property owned by citizens of the Philippines not residing in that foreign country. So kung titignan natin itong express provision of the tax code pertaining to the application of rule on reciprocity, it would appear that it is a bit parang technical. Actually, hindi siya bit. It is highly technical. Okay, but I highlighted specific provision. Ito po yung very important. The law of the foreign country did not impose a transfer tax. Or nag-impose nga siya ng may taxation nga silang rule pero inexempt nila. Okay? Just to give you a better idea, here is an example. So Trumpy, an American residing in Washington DC, USA. So how do we classify Trumpy? American residing in Washington DC. So non-resident alien siya. Tama? Not a Filipino citizen. Not residing here. Owns shares of stocks of Facebook Corporation, a domestic corporation. So we are trying to determine whether this IPP, ang source niyan ay Philippines. Pag ang source niyan ay Philippines, isasama lang natin yan sa gross estate kung yan ay taxable. Kung hindi yan taxable, hindi natin isasama. So how do we know if the IPP, the shares of stock of a domestic corporation, is taxable or not? A-apply natin yung rule na pinag-usapan natin kanina. Ito po yung A and B. So, the shares of stocks are valued at 1 million. Trumpy died in 2019. Remember, si Trumpy ay Amerikano na nasa abroad. Meron siyang shares of stock sa isang domestic corporation na nasa Pilipinas. Namatay noong 2019. Ang tanong, sa madaling salita, is this IPP situated in the Philippines or not? Okay? Ang sabi natin, if the shares, obligations, or bonds issued by a domestic corporation, ano ang sabi natin? With situs in the Philippines yan. So kung with situs in the Philippines yan, ang pangalawang gagawin natin, we shall determine whether or not the IPP, in this case, the shares of stock, form part of the gross estate. Alam na natin na IPP siya. Okay, within the Philippines. Now, ang question, is it subject or not to estate tax? Okay, so we will apply the rule. Ano nga yung rule kanina? Okay, balikan natin ang rule. No tax shall be collected in respect of IPP. Hindi tayo mangongolekta ng tax. A, if the decedent at the time of his death, kung ang namatay nung panahon na siya ay mamatay, or yung donor nung yung time na nag-donate siya ay isang citizen at residente ng ibang bansa. So si Trump ito, which at the time of his death or donation did not impose a transfer tax of any character in respect to IPP of citizens of the Philippines not residing in that foreign country. Sabi, nag-impose ba ng transfer tax, estate or donor's tax ang foreign country na yan sa IPP ng isang Pilipino na hindi taga-Amerika na nasa Pilipinas? Or anong nangyari? If the law of that foreign country of which the decedent or donor was a citizen and resident at the time of his death or donation, yung batas, okay, ng bansa na kung saan yung namatay or yung donor ay citizen at residente ng bansang yon nung siya ay mamatay or nag-donate, ay ini-accept nila yung IPP dun sa mga shares of stock that were transferred, okay, by way of inheritance or donation, okay, in respect of intangible personal property owned by citizens of the Philippines not residing in that foreign country. So, balikan natin ang problem. Trumpy, an American residing in Washington, D.C., owns shares of stock of Facebook Corporation, a domestic corporation. The shares of stock are valued at 1 million. Trumpy died in 2019. So, is the IPP, shares of stock of a domestic corporation owned by Trumpy, subject to estate tax in the Philippines? Ang sagot, ito po. Okay? Drawing ko muna. Apply natin. Si Trumpy ay merong shares of stock sa domestic corporation. So, alam na natin na yung shares of stock, again, ay IPP within the Philippines. Bakit? Shares of stock issued by a domestic corporation eh. Now, itatax ba natin yan? Is it subject to estate tax? This is the question. Estate tax or donors, parehas lang din naman yan eh. Kasi pagdating sa donors tax, ganito rin yung rule. So, estate tax or donors tax, is it subject? Ang sagot dyan, it depends. It depends on what? Okay? Kung halimbawa si Nicanor ay merong shares of stock sa isang domestic corporation saan? Sa Amerika. Okay? So halimbawa, Amazon Corporation, okay, ay merong shares of stock si Nicanor. Nag-invest siya sa Amazon Corporation in the US. Okay? Ang tanong, anong ginawa ng Amerika nung namatay si Nicanor? Okay? Anong ginawa niya sa intangible personal property ni Nicanor na situated in the US? Ang sabi dun sa rule, okay, exempted daw. Okay? In-exempt daw. So kung in-exempt nila si Nicanor dun sa IPP na nasa Amerika, anong gagawin ngayon natin kay Trumpy sa kanyang shares of stock na meron siya sa domestic corporation? Eh di i-exempt din natin kasi in-exempt nila yung kababayan natin. So yung Amerikano dito, i-exempt din natin. So papaano naman kung there is no law? Okay? Anong sabi dito? Did not impose tax. Did not impose tax. So parang exemption din. So sa Amerika, okay, si Trumpy ay may shares of stock sa Pilipinas from a domestic corporation. Ngayon, itatax ba natin yan, estate tax? Depende. Depende saan? Kung ang Pilipino, ano ba yung treatment ng foreign country sa mga IPP din. So, another example, shares of stock ni Nicanor sa domestic corporation sa US, Amazon. Anong problema? Ito po, yung kanilang batas sa Amerika, they did not impose estate tax on the IPP of a Filipino citizen who invested in a foreign country. Did not impose tax ha. Yung kanina, merong batas, in-exempt nila. ang gagawin natin, accept din natin. Ganti-ganti, reciprocity. Ngayon, yung isa namang itong second scenario, they did not impose tax. Yung kanina, inaccept nila. Ito, they did not impose tax. So, essentially, inaccept nila. So, anong gagawin natin? Accept din natin. Kasi they did not impose tax. Papaano mga kapatid, yung foreign country, in this case, yung country ni Trumpy, ay nag-impose, okay, ng tax sa IPP ng mga Pilipino sa domestic corporation abroad. Anong gagawin natin under the rule on reciprocity? Eh di i-tax din natin. Okay, this is the correct application of the rule. Hindi porke merong reciprocity, eh exempted siya. Hindi porke walang reciprocity, eh taxable siya. Okay? So again, in determining whether or not the IPP of a non-resident alien is taxable or not, titignan muna natin ano ba ang ginawa sa mga Pilipino na merong similar transaction. Okay? So this is actually the clear answer. It depends. Okay? If the USA did not impose estate tax on IPP owned by resident citizens in a corporation established in the US, the Philippines will also not impose estate tax on the shares of stock of Trumpy owned by him in a domestic corporation. Yan yung sinasabi, did not impose estate tax. So kung hindi nag-impose ng estate tax, yung Amerika sa mga IPP ng mga Filipino citizen doon, anong gagawin natin? Huwag din tayong mag-impose ng estate tax. Okay? Or, if the US in-exempt nila from estate tax ang IPP owned by resident citizen, yung mga Pilipino na merong IPP sa Amerika, in-exempt nila. Anong gagawin natin sa mga IPP ng mga residente dito, yung mga IPP ng mga NRA dito? The Philippines will also accept the estate from estate tax, the shares of stock owned by NRA in domestic corporation. Ganti-ganti. So kung nag-impose sila ng tax, i-tax natin. If the US will impose estate tax on IPP owned by a resident citizen in that foreign country, okay, the Philippines will also impose estate tax on the IPP owned by a non-resident alien in the Philippines. So basically, this is the application of the rule on reciprocity. So basically, brothers and sisters, this is the first part, okay, of our discussion of estate tax.